acres of apples and about 65 acres of olives. Now I'm using the Infaco rakes that I bought from Infaco company, and I bought them this last fall in 2013, just before harvest, because I was looking for a more efficient way of harvesting. Before that, I actually hand-picked all the olives, and it was becoming extremely cost prohibitive to pick by hand. And interestingly, after using the rakes, I still have continued to win the same medals that I've been winning before, so I haven't seen any decrease in quality versus hand picking. Before I was picking by hand, and it took as many as 30 people at a time to pick 2 tons a day. As you can do the math and quickly find out that that's cost prohibitive. You need to sell olive oil for close to $100 a gallon just to make up for that kind of labor, just to pay the harvest cost. So I needed to find a system that was better, and I wanted to switch to rakes that did not have the cumbersome hydraulics that you have to attach to tractors. And after talking to friends, some of them were telling me about hydraulics, and I quickly realized that that was not something I wanted to do. So it just happened that at the same time I was researching that one of your sales representatives came by and had talked to me about it, as well as I was talking to McAvoy Ranch, who uses the same equipment, and they talked very highly about the equipment. So after doing some research, I found out that Infaco was the best equipment that wasn't using hydraulic. Infaco uses backpack battery, and that worked perfect for us. So I was very happy. I didn't need to get any kind of hydraulic source, drag tractors around. So it was very efficient with labor because I didn't have to have a tractor driver, and I didn't have to split the rows with the netting because of the tractor having to drive down the middle. So I figured out the most efficient way to do it. I had a total of 19 workers harvesting, and I did, I believe, about 5 rows at a time. So I had about 7 nets going down the rows, and I would have 1 person per net on average that would solely move the nets, and then I would have 1 person per side of the row harvesting that side of the olive tree. And I found that that was extremely efficient. Sometimes we had to add a person for the nets, or 2 people, just because on hillsides they would get a little tired. But overall, it worked out really great to have all the rows contiguous in 5 contiguous rows. So the difference in tonnage was really amazing. Before, as I mentioned, I was using 30 people picking by hand, and we were getting a perfect fruit, but it was taking 2 tons per day. Whereas with the rakes, the difference was night and day. I was getting 6 tons per day in some cases with some varieties, and I was only having 19 people harvesting. So you can do the math, and it was, 6 times more efficient, I believe, but it was much more efficient. I want to talk about the difference in fruit quality. When we picked by hand, I didn't notice much difference at all with the quality when we picked with the rakes. It was very similar. We did get more leaves with the rake system in the containers, but we quickly solved that by using blowers to blow the leaves out. So we'd have 1 person that would monitor the amount of leaves that got in there to make sure there wasn't enough leaves. So we just had 1 person deal with that, and it was efficient enough that we could do that. And in the end, as I mentioned before, I still won the same award, so I had no problem with the difference in quality. I also noticed that the rakes were built extremely well, that they have the flexible yet rigid, perfectly contoured rake heads that can knock down the olives in an elliptical 8 pattern that works very well. I think that the company researched it very well and came up with a product some equipment that works great in olive orchards. I have no possibility to go back to the old way of harvesting. It was sometimes fun to pick by hand because there's nothing like getting your hands in there and picking some olives. But for any kind of, medium to large scale production, there's really no alternative but to use the rakes and the nets compared to picking by hand. The economics of the harvest were that when we picked at a fairly ripe stage where it was still green but still purple, a combination of perfect ripeness, that we were able to get 50 gallons per ton, which is quite amazing. And when you, I figured for my harvest came out to, as I mentioned, 19 people per the pick per day. It came out to about $550 to $600 per ton to pick. And then if I got 50 gallons per ton, you can, and I sell it for at least $40 to $50 a gallon. That comes out to $2,000 per ton gross. And you subtract the labor to harvest of $550 to $600 per ton, you're still netting to cover your maintenance costs, you're still netting about $1,450 in my case. So the people that picked this last fall with the rakes also picked it by hand with me the previous years for multiple years. When we did the switch this last fall, there was a little bit of nervousness and apprehension. We didn't know what to expect. But in the end, we quickly, within a day, got the hang of it. And also, Infaco was really generous in having their salesperson come out and give us demos, so that when we were ready to pick, we were completely prepared. And in the end, the workers absolutely loved the rakes. And while it's different than hand picking, it was really not that big of a change overall, and the transition went very smoothly for us. I think that they just like the fact that the people that use the rakes enjoyed raking. I think it was satisfying for them to see how much we were raking at one time. It's quite fast. You can get a huge amount very quickly. You can get 6 tons per day, which is, about 9 people raking. So it is pretty amazing how fast the rakes are. Even to support people dragging the nets around, the rakes are so fast that it just completely blows hand picking out of the water. I believe that things in the olive industry are going to move into these rakes, and as far as rakes go, Infaco is the best product out there, the most efficient, the most well-made, the best support, reasonable prices, and I would highly recommend that every grower consider switching to rakes if they want to become more economic.